to another fun episode of Elements of Fun. I am one of your hosts, Joey, and joining me this way
And
is
I'm
my awesome
Courtney.
girlfriend, Courtney. Yes.
Yep, I'm Courtney.
What's going on? How you doing, Courtney?
I'm good. Just got through a stressful day because we are recording this on the day D23 Expo tickets went on sale. So
Stressful,
it was
but
stressful.
rewarding because we got them. So
We got them. We will be there.
yes, absolutely. And if you're new to the show here, once again, I'm Joe and she's Courtney. We are a Disney adult couple who are long distance, and that's why we're in different spaces here. And what we do here is basically when we go on adventures, you guys come with us. We got plenty going on. Plus, as I said, we are like Disney adults, but we do also love many other fandoms. And so this is a good chance to even talk about some of those other fandoms and shows or movies. So that's why we are both, we're both. That's why we are going to be talking about the recent Ghostbusters film, Frozen Empire, which we saw on the same night, but separately, of course.
But
so,
different.
yeah,
Different
so
theaters, different spaces.
yeah, and so this is going to be, and we're like, so we're going to do a lot of other different non-Disney material. We've recently did a Stranger Things store out in Las Vegas, which was very fun. So if you haven't checked that video out yet, go ahead and check that out and give it a like and share. It's very awesome, especially if you're a Stranger Things fan. Is like Stranger Things mecca, and we're going to be talking about Batman 85th anniversary coming up soon. So not just Batman's 85th anniversary, but more specifically the 35th anniversary of Tim Burton's Batman. So
The very
that'll
first
come
one.
out. Yes, and
Very
so
first movie, I should say.
well, this one in the 60s they did do a movie, but
I don't count
technically.
that.
I mean, it is called Batman the movie, but
I don't count that.
but we digress. We're talking about ghosts and Ghostbusters this evening, and I'm excited because I can actually do this on something where it makes sense and not just playing around like we've done on the podcast, but I can say something like, "There is no Dana, only Zoo." So I've been wanting to do that all day. But anyways, I'm just rambling here. Before we get with the review, which, like it says below, will be spoiler filled. So if you haven't seen Ghostbusters Frozen Empire yet, pause.
See it.
Go see it. Then come back and let us know what you think. But first of all, Courtney, where would you be on the Ghostbuster lore or Ghostbuster, fandom? Where does this rank? Or
I would say that it is probably closer to the bottom of my list of fandoms. Not that I don't like it. It's just not one of the top ones that I'm gonna like reach for to put on something like to fall asleep to or something like that. It's not a set of movies that I watch constantly. Like I just did a whole rewatch of all of the Marvel stuff. I would say like Marvel, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Disney are like my top fandoms. I'm a big Batman fan too, but like I do like the Ghostbuster movies. Big fan of the first one. Definitely. And I would say for me it would go Ghostbusters 1, 2, Afterlife, Frozen Empire, and then the remake of With All the Women. That was my least favorite one, but definitely it is a fandom of mine. I do like it, but it's just not my top.
Sure, and that's fair. It's one of those fandoms that is kind of like, you're either a huge fan of Ghostbusters or you're like, oh yeah, I like the movie, and it's usually I like the first one. Yeah. Everything else, even 2 is like, nah, I don't really care for it. And I'm talking about the casual.
Oh yeah, like fan. Oh yeah, for sure. Usually the sequel is nowhere near the better or even the same caliber as the first. Now there are a few exceptions to that, but like usually
very few. So no, I mean that's good to know because like I said, that's where we want to kind of
But it is
gauge
like
our
definitely
conversation.
it is definitely one of those movies that I will watch when it's on. It is one of those movies that I will watch around Halloween. The
Sure,
first Ghostbusters specifically.
absolutely. And even before I get to like my where I'm at, um, a lot of the actors, mainly Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd, have done a lot more
Yeah.
movies. Harold Ramis has done a lot of movies, Ernie Hudson, and even Annie Potts. But but all these actors, Ghostbusters, the first, I feel weird calling it Ghostbusters 1 because it was never
Yeah.
Ghostbusters.
Right.
First
It was
movies
just
aren't one.
Ghostbusters.
So I have that's like one of my pet peeves is when people say something one. Because,
Yeah.
anyways, I digress. But wherever these guys are in their movies, it's always people always say Ghostbusters is their favorite movie with that actor, Bill Murray or Dan
Yeah.
Aykroyd, and that's even saying like over Blues Brothers for Dan Aykroyd and Groundhog Day and all these other movies for Bill
Hmm.
Murray. To me, I've always heard Ghostbusters is their top for. That's
Well,
me
I
at
know
least.
it's very special to Dan Aykroyd because
Yeah,
he wrote it and he definitely like he co-wrote it with Harold Ramis, and it also I read that it was like based on stuff in his actual family, like
yeah,
his aunt. I think his aunt or uncle or both was very much into tarot readings and like spiritual realm and stuff like that. So it's very much based on his family
yeah,
and
and I
trip.
think an aunt, uncle, a grandfather. I mean, there's multiple family members that
Yeah,
are and Ray's character is really involved in the
a
occult.
cult.
So,
Yeah,
and we see it a lot more actually in the sequels than we do in the original movie.
yeah.
But anyways, for me, as if for those who do not know, I'm a little bit older than Courtney. So I was a young child when this movie came out, and it scared the hell out of me because I was a chicken. So if there's any ghosts or any skeletons, like the taxi cab skeleton was the worst one for me. I don't know. I thought it was
Mm,
real. But after that, I grew up loving this movie. I still consider it a classic. It's a cinematic icon because there's Omen. Oh, it hits that weird divide of horror, because
yeah,
the first one actually did have some pretty scary parts in it,
it
but the
does.
perfect
Yeah,
blend of comedy. It was
exactly.
the perfect marriage of both, and I think that's why so many people, you know, do consider it a classic and stuff. But then, of course, even before the sequel, I was really into the real Ghostbusters cartoon, which I loved that cartoon. My cousins loved it. We grew up playing Ghostbusters. My little cousin, who you met, Andrew, he had the proton pack and the trap and everything, and so he was at that extra young age. But the animated cartoon was so cool. And then, of course, the sequel came out. So excited, and it has its moments, but it's still like it's a painting that they're kind of scared
Yeah.
of, but still, I'd watch it
Well,
every
I
once
mean,
in a while.
it plays on that whole like Damian Gray kind of thing where like yeah, it's a painting, but it's also his soul into the
Yeah,
painting and it's sucking it, so that he can live forever. So
yeah.
like
So,
or Darian
growing
Gray
up,
or something like that. I forget
yes.
what his name.
So I believe, like I said, I love the animated show, the real Ghostbusters. Then the sequel came out, Ghostbusters 2, which again, as cheesy as it is, I still love it. It's anytime you see the returning characters is always fun. Then I believe after this came out, the animated show was retweaked and became Slimer in the Ghostbusters because Slimer became such a big character from the cartoon that they even threw him back in the sequel. And even in the credits is like, and Slimer, he had a small
Yeah.
part, but
Well, see, that's the thing is, since you are older than I am, I was not born until 86, so I believe the cartoon was going on at this time, right? At
yeah,
86. So I grew up with the cartoon.
87, yeah,
Yeah, I grew up with the cartoon being on like on Saturday mornings. And then I grew up with the first one being played every Halloween on TV. So
yeah,
that's how I know.
and that's cool. And then so after Slimer and the Ghostbusters kind of went away, and it kind of passed its prime. Then there's rumors on Ghostbusters 3 that all the actors were interested in it, but they just couldn't get a story down, and it went out. And well, maybe they'll pass the torch to a new group. And then another animated version came out called the Extreme Ghostbusters, which was a very cool cartoon. You had a kind of a punk. Now, totally, didn't do any research, but there's a kind of like a little punk rock kid that was pretty much like a young Venkman. I believe there was a character in a wheelchair.
Oh,
there was a younger, like Asian girl, and then of course Slimer, and they had the new tech and the different more. Anyway, so that was a really cool cartoon, and then plus Egon and Ray were from a real Ghostbusters, were kind of like returning guests, kind of bridge the gap. So yeah, then 2016 comes, we get I forget the director. He's mostly known for like comedies and
Paul Feig. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and he's a successful director and filmmaker.
Yeah, and he's a good comedy, so you'd think it was gonna be good.
Yeah.
Plus, it had all of the really good comedians.
Like hot off Bridesmaids.
Yeah, hot off, right? Like basically almost the same cast. Because I believe it was Melissa McCarthy and Kate McKinnon. I don't know. Was Kristen Wiig?
So Kristen Wiig and
Leslie
McCarthy
Jones
are the bigger actors, and then Kate McKinnon was still primarily on SNL as well as Leslie Jones.
Yeah.
So they're bigger now, and on paper, it was pretty good. But in my opinion, they acted.
They did. They overdid everything on that, and I was just like, and it was almost the same story, if not, but not as much of a impact.
Yeah, and Chris Hemsworth was in it and had cameos of the original Ghostbusters. Bill Murray was a conspiracy theorist reporter or something. Dan Aykroyd was a cab driver. Ernie Hudson was Leslie Jones's uncle.
Oh yeah,
and of course Harold Ramis, who passed before the movie was made. They kind of at the university, they had a bust of him in the dean's office, which was nice.
I have the movie, I just don't watch it.
I do too, and it has its moments, I think. And actually, my favorite character in that movie is Leslie Jones's character, because
I think she was the one that annoyed me the most, really.
Well, I think the thing that gets me is, like, to me, she was the audience and what an audience would do in real life if ghosts were around. So when they're at the weird ghost rock concert or whatever, they're going through the hallways, and she goes in. They all split up. I know this is the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire joke, but we're kind of getting there. So they get into a room, and there's nothing but a bunch of mannequins in the shade shadows. And she walks in, and she's like, "Room full of nightmares." Nope. I'm like, exactly. I would not do that. So, but yeah,
I mean, she had her moments. I just feel like her character kind of annoyed me.
Yeah. So then we get rumors that they're going to make an actual Ghostbusters in the world of what we know, the original Ghostbusters universe, and it's being written and directed by Jason Reitman, who is actually the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the original 2 Ghostbusters. He directed Stripes with Harold Ramis and Bill Murray. So this was to say this guy knows Ghostbusters in and out is an understatement. I mean, he grew up on set.
Yeah.
He
He's
grew
actually
up
in it. He was in the second one.
Yeah.
As a kid.
Yeah. Wasn't he at the party? I think at the beginning.
Yeah, the party. Yeah, when they were doing the birthday party scene, and he goes, "You guys suck."
He-Man.
Yeah.
So, so the fact that he, came back and did this movie, and there was rumors that the original cast was going to be in it, which was amazing. It was the way they brought him in with the new characters, the new cast. I thought was great. And
absolutely. Yeah.
Again, I mean, if you haven't seen Afterlife, then by now
you need to see Afterlife. Like literally, it was life changing. Like I sat and then I was just like, I literally cried at the end of it. I was like, this is so good. This is the movie we were waiting for.
And I never thought I'd ever cry during a Ghostbusters movie, but the way they brought Egon back and actually motion captured Harold Ramis was I mean, it gets me every time. So that was a great then the post credit scene that leads into New York and Winston, financing everything. So
Yeah.
of course we're going to get a sequel. I mean, and then we get it. And before we get to the sequel, one thing that it's kind of like a little back in circles here, but uh, Harold Ramis, since he passed away, obviously they had to use a reference
Yeah.
for his movements. And according to the special features, the reference was actually Ivan Reitman,
Oh, okay.
which, again, is Jason's father, who had recently passed away again. Or not again. You know what I mean?
As well.
He passed away as well. So seeing that scene, you got the two. Dan Aykroyd is as the creator and writer, but also with Ivan Reitman and Harold Ramis, they kind of came together to bring. Yeah, it's just so heartbreaking, and which is why I
Yeah.
believe Jason didn't direct the second one, but he was still the writer and producer. So that's where we're at. Sorry, there's a little Ghostbuster history here, 101. But Frozen Empire, top cast, we got the returning Spanglers, Callie with her played by Carrie Coon, Finn Wolford as Trevor, and of course McKenna Grace as Phoebe. Paul Rudd returns also as Gary Gooberson, and they are the Ghostbusters right now going around. Also, some of the side cast is I think my favorite character in the movie, Nadim, played by Kumali Nanjiani, which I'm a big fan of his, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I mean, we'll get to it here. Patton also played Dr. Hubert Wartsky, and then Celeste O'Connor was Lucky returning. That was Trevor's little love interest in the first movie, and then of course Logan Kim, who aged about 10 years, it seems like,
I know,
compared to
right?
podcast.
Podcast.
We got new characters. Lars, he's one of the guys working in the new ghost laboratory, played by James Castor. A ghost friend for Phoebe, played by Emily Allen Melody. And then returning characters are, of course, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson as the original Ghostbusters, Annie Potts as Janine, and William Atherton, who is now Mayor Walter Peck. So those are the main actors. And a little shout out to John Rothman. He's the library administrator. A couple lines in this movie, but he was the original library administrator in the original movie too. So the fact that they brought him back was
It was good to see that library scene. We'll get there, but that was really cool.
And basically the plot of the movie is the Spangler family is they're living in New York. They're
in the firehouse.
In the original firehouse where the Ghostbusters have taken ghostbusting to the next level when the discovery of an ancient artifact unleashes an evil force. Ghostbusters new and old must unite to protect their home and save the world from a second ice age. And that's like I said, that's pretty much the skinny. And this was also directed by Gil Keenan and distributed by Sony Pictures. So
yeah.
Initial thoughts on Ghostbusters. What did you think once we got into it?
I actually really like this movie. I like the drama of having a underage Ghostbuster and the city being like trashed every time that they bus ghosts and she kind of got benched. I found that, and she was just having a hard time with like, I'm the one who figures everything out, and I know more about the tech than everybody else, but I'm the youngest, so but I'm the youngest, and they said I can't ghost bust, so now I get benched, that kind of thing. So there's that dynamic of like the family kind of like fighting with each other, and then you have Kunal's character who doesn't understand his family legacy, so he's trying to pawn the orb that this ancient monster's in, which is really funny. And he brought a lot of the comedy. I really like that they kept with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Men and the little guys who were like kamikazes and like suicidal, seriously, throughout the whole entire thing. They kept damaging themselves.
Yeah.
And like even before the evil entity was like telling them to damage themselves, they were damaging themselves. Um that was really funny. And then I just love seeing the old team back together. Whenever you can really do that right, kind of like what other movie did it right? Where you have the old cast and the new cast coming together. I mean, I want to say Jurassic World Dominion, but no, they didn't do that right because nobody died. Not that I wanted any of them to die, but nobody died in that movie.
There's like no stakes.
Yeah, exactly. But when it comes together just like that, and you can feel that they just worked well together, the entire cast. I almost expected because one of the main things is their place where they put all the ghosts after they bust them, to store them or because they don't incinerate them or anything like that.
The containment unit.
The containment container, when it was going to bust and like the bad entity was going to try and like release all the ghosts, I almost thought Zool was going to come back. I was like, come on, let's have Zool and Goiza back, But
Wait. There is no Dana, only Zool. Okay, I had to do it again.
Exactly. Okay. But yeah, I almost thought that they were going to come back, but obviously we didn't have Sigourney River. Oh my god. Sigourney
Yes.
Weaver
Sigourney
and
Weaver.
Rick Moranis didn't come back. So
yeah,
not that I would expect them to, but
and it was weird because she came back in the post-credit scene of Afterlife.
That's true. That is very true.
And the cool thing was they referenced Lewis very, very lightly. I can't even remember where it was, but I remember them referencing it. And not just the little strainer hat, but it was another thing. But I just saw today that somebody mentioned, like, oh, when Patton Oswalt's character and Dan Aykroyd are walking by the lion statue, they walk by a sign, and it said something about solo cellist Dana Barrett. Like she was performing. It is
I did not see that. That's cool, though.
Yeah, I try to find that.
But and one of my favorite things is that they mirrored that first library scene when he comes up from the old library, like after they're done with talking to Patton Oswalt, and then they walk by that same library aisle, and then the same ghost is there.
Yeah,
and like he walks by. I think it was it Bill Murray? No, it was Dan Aykroyd.
It was Ray.
It was Ray. Yeah. So it was Danny Aykroyd. He walked by and then he did like a double take and went back, and then the ghost looked at him and he was like, "Whoa!"
Because in the original one, he was the one that was like, "Get her,"
Yeah.
So that was a nice nod. And there was a lot of good nods. I felt. Yeah. And for me, it was interesting right away. I mean, it gets started right away.
It does.
They're chasing ghosts, and they're working as a family. So, I was really into it, and because I loved Afterlife, but this one started off a lot, had a little bit more action, a little bit more comedy, and it was well paced.
Well, the very, very opening was a little weird for me because they wanted to solidify the very last time we saw this bad ghost on Earth, which was like back in the 1600s, right? 1800s. Okay. So it was the 1800s. So then all you see is this like Bronze Age stuff. And then they go into this room and they totally like freeze the entire room, and people are trying to get in there. Well, they've actually like frozen all these people alive because the powers that this thing has is that it takes your fear and kind of paralyzes you, but then actually like covers you in ice. So everything is frozen. And, so
except
it's showing
for one
you
person.
and it was showing you how that they got trapped in the first place. But so that started off a little like maybe a little slow for me, but then it went right into the action with Phoebe and her family, like
Yeah.
catching the dragon ghost.
And see, I liked the beginning because it's like it starts off in 1800s New York,
Hmm.
and the firefighters get a call, and they're in
Hmm.
the same fire station. So I like that little nod that it
Yeah.
was the actual Ghostbuster fire station. And like you said, they get to this room, which, you know, for our Disney fans, everybody knows I'm a big fan of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. This was like a society kind of like that, but
Of
more of a society
science.
of
Yeah.
jerks in science.
Yeah.
But we
Science.
see who we find out is Nadine's great grandmother,
Yeah, basically,
and
yeah.
basically what they're I'm probably going to get this wrong, but they're kind of we find out that they're firewalkers, and they're the ones that actually trap the demon. And was it
Yeah.
Garak something?
Yeah,
So
something like that.
I
But like
am
they trap him
terrible at
in bronze and like they
yes,
kind of have to hold it or put it where it can't be heard or something like that so that no one opens it.
yeah.
But
So
she passed away and the kid didn't listen and
yeah,
didn't care. So he pawned it and that's how it gets out.
yeah, exactly. But no. Then the story ensues, and they're trying to catch. Uh, well, first of all, they get in trouble from the new mayor, who was the attorney Peck at the time. So he's obviously
Oh, yeah.
out for anything. You know, he takes pride in closing up shop.
I
Um,
really liked that McKenna Grace's character, Phoebe. She was like, "You know what happened the last time you shut us down?
yeah.
Yeah, you really want to go through that again?"
So she knows her history. So
Yeah, because like I think it was in the second one where he shut it down, and like the entire T of New York almost like blew up because everything was in the sewer. I think, right? I remember.
well, he shut him down in the first movie. I don't think he was in the
Oh,
second
okay.
one. It was
Oh,
another Weasley guy that was an actual
okay.
assistant of the mayor in the second one.
Okay.
So,
Sorry, it's
but
late.
no, yeah. So he took pride in shutting them down, and once he found out Phoebe was underage, he's like, "Well, you
Underage.
can't work," you know. And
Exactly.
so he's the one that pretty much, you know,
She's like, I'm 15. And then she was like, I
yeah.
have to wait 3 years to work as a Ghostbuster till she turns 18. She was not
Yeah,
happy about
and the
that.
funny thing is, like Gary Goobers and Paul Rudd, you know, he's having a hard time at trying to play that stepdad. I mean, they're
The
obviously
stepdad. Yeah.
they're obviously dating, but they're keeping stuff still a little like he wants to be the friend, like he was in the first movie, more than the stepdad
Right.
to her.
Well, he was the teacher in the first movie.
Yeah,
So, but I guess they were like, it's far along in the relationship where like they could be getting married and he wants to take on that stepdad role, but he wasn't sure how far he could take things like yelling at the kids and stuff like that or telling
yeah.
them off.
He's uncomfortable with being the jerk. He gets permission to be the asshole stepfather once in a while,
Yeah.
and but he still doesn't. He still wants to be the fun loving
Fun, yeah, the
guy.
friend, their friend. And a lot of that has to do with also, on the other hand, Trevor, he's 18, right? And he wants to be
Yeah,
treated as an adult, but they keep treating him as a kid in his eyes. And then he has to be the one that deals with Slimer.
which the way they brought Slimer back, they brought him back to the original movie Slimer, which I love.
Well, that's the one where
Eating,
he's
making a
just
mess.
eating all the stuff,
Yeah,
like
but yeah,
fat
the way
girl.
he slimed him twice and he spits it out. I mean, I know it's in the
Yeah.
trailer, but still funny though.
Yeah, I mean, I found it funny, but then I was like, ew. It's on his face.
And going back to a nod, and we were talking about it before, but I love what I felt was a nod to ET, and that's when he was trying to lure him with Cheetos to the trap,
Yeah.
and then
The
his
Reese's
hand
Pieces.
comes out, and he's just like ET with a Reese's
I
Pieces, but with a
know. That
Cheetos. So
kind
I'm
of
like,
creeped me out a little bit, but I still understand the reference.
yeah. So,
Yes.
but then once the fire, as this or which we find out from we're not going to really hit every point. We're just kind of talking about what we like about the movie because I think we've only seen it once at this time, but
yeah, only one time.
But we get introduced back to Ray, who's working at his shop with his new summer intern podcast. Which his parents think he's at summer school or something.
No, they think he's at space camp.
Space camp. That's right. Another movie, Summer School, Space Camp, like both movies of the 80s. There we go. And then, so he's working there, and Ray's obviously kind of like doing his stuff, his occult stuff, and they're just having banter talk. Then Kumal walks in and with a box of stuff that he wants to sell, and he was going to.
He was going to take $30 for it.
For the entire box. And then Ray is in fact, well, because he brings up the trap.
Yeah.
Not the trap, the PKE meter.
Yeah.
The PKE meter. And to check everything, because he talks about how, spirits get to cling on to different.
He does this because him and Podcast have a YouTube channel he scans things and sees if they're paranormal, and like they actually bring the people on with their stuff and to see and like if it has some kind of spiritual ties to it.
Yeah. And which is again is a nice little reference to the first movie about Podcast talking about his show when it took off, and then he's like, you do that show? And he's like, you're my subscriber. So the fact that he's now doing the
helping
YouTube
him.
It's hilarious though. But then Nadine comes in and has a box of stuff he wants to sell for $30, and hitting the PKE reader, and it pretty much fully extends and explodes because the orb is that powerful.
And then he goes, "Oh, maybe $50. Oh, maybe $60 for the whole thing."
And he's just bargaining, and he does this the whole movie. So, and like I said, if you're a fan of his comedy, which I am, it's just he nails it, and I love his character. So,
I love that he's getting more opportunities.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Especially after the Eternals, like it was kind of touch and go.
Okay,
I liked him as the Eternals, but like I know that movie kind of tanked, so that could have a harbinger on your career.
But you could I'm just a little side track here, but Kumal was in a Marvels.
Yes.
Not the Marvels, but a Marvel. Sorry.
A Marvel.
Star Wars.
Oh yeah, he was in Star Wars. He was in Obi-Wan. Yeah.
Yeah. And now he's a Ghostbuster. Those are 3 huge nerd fandoms.
That's true.
So King of the Nerds, Kumal.
Yeah, he is King of the Nerds.
I would wear that hat with
he just needs to have a Disney product now. I don't think he does.
Not yet.
I know he has a Fox one because, no, the Big Sick was Amazon, but
no, it's like Searchlight or something. I think.
I don't know. Was it? So if it's Searchlight, then it's Fox. But
we'll find out at D23 coming this August.
Hey,
that will be at.
That's right. We'll be in the room.
But he sells it, and then at the time, then it kind of drops, and parts of New York start getting a little frozen and little, and it kind of cracks into the containment unit, which kind of sets off an alarm. Then we find out the first person they call is Janine, and they're like, "Oh, we'll have our people work on it." And they're like, "You got people?
Got people? What people do you have?"
So, and so then we're introduced to. I think this is when we're introduced to Lars at first, because and I'm going to do a quick little shout out to cosplay friend. Because, first of all, before I get to that, we're talking about the nods, nods to the original movie and stuff. And I felt that this even had nods to the animated show a lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
In many ways, just the way the main ghost, the way he looked, and just the storyline was very animated show style. Okay. But one thing I did not hit me that my friend Jason Leibowitz, Lebo One Kenobi, posted was this picture comparing Lars to the animated Egon.
Oh Oh, true.
And I was like, whoa, dude, seriously, because like I said, I got total animation show vibes. I told you this numerous times,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really, but I did not I don't know if that was a nod to that or just coincidence, but I'm going with it because he looks
Hey,
like
yeah.
Egon.
He does look
And
like Egon.
kind of jumping a little bit, I believe, this is a possible passing of the torch too that this movie really hinted at in many ways. So
Mm-hmm.
I see him joining. You got Lucky, who's like in a returning character from the afterlife.
Yeah.
She's also working in this. Oop, I just threw away the wrong one. She's also working in this laboratory that we find out that they're Winston, who's this huge entrepreneur, is just
Bankrolling.
bankrolling this old aquarium, which is the only thing big enough to actually do these ghost experiments.
And they're actually holding ghosts there. So they're
Yeah,
trapping him
and
in this
testing them.
and testing on him.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
they're getting mad.
yeah. And I mean, we get to introduce to some funny little ghosts, and which we know,
Yeah, the
like,
guy with
okay,
like the big mouth.
yeah, and he's like sneeze sliming people.
Ugh, and he
We
rolls.
get they all have little names too, but they have the one that basically can inject itself in any like.
Oh, that's the
I can't,
started with the P.
yeah,
Can't remember.
I
But
can't
they said
remember.
it was the most dangerous one because the possession. It is a
Yeah,
possession demon.
yes.
Possession ghost. But it like possessed everything. Like it even possessed a vacuum cleaner, which kind of gave me Brave Little Toaster vibes.
Oh yeah, right. So they're doing experiments, and they can actually like contain a ghost, and then they can either study it or they can put it into a bigger containment unit, which is like 10 times the size of what's at the firehouse. And so, so that's what they're doing. And then as Phoebe's kind of like in her moping around, she takes off and decides to go to, I'm guessing Central Park. That's just a guess, but
Yeah.
goes to a park and starts to play chess like she did in the first movie. And then Peace moves and she keeps playing, and I'm thinking she's kind of thinking it might be her grandfather again. That's the vibe I got.
That's what I thought at first. I thought that Harold Ramis was gonna come back again, but then it ended up being the girl. But I was like, oh, does she think she's playing against her grandfather? Because she wasn't scared at all. She was just like, cool, I'm playing against a ghost,
Yeah, which it actually at first kind of freaked out the ghost whose name is Melody. And you know what? I really enjoyed this character. I thought it was a nice little different take. To like what has happened before, because obviously Phoebe's a Ghostbuster and she's befriending a ghost.
Right.
But
it kind of gave me Supernatural vibes because that's how it kind of is going, where like they befriend an angel and they also befriend the king of hell. So like, and they don't mean to, like, they kind of play fight and stuff like that. They don't actually get along, but like they always enlist the king of hell's help, if you know Supernatural. But it gave me Supernatural vibes.
Okay, and I haven't really dug deep into that yet, so we'll get to there at some time.
We
so
will.
Don't worry. So she befriends, which is perfectly natural because Phoebe is awkward. She's an awkward teen, and it only makes sense that she befriends a ghost, somebody that she's
comfortable around ghosts,
comfortable with, but she's also comfortable with busting them because she obviously loves being a Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
It did have some weird vibes at times, like is it more than a friendship? I don't know, but but either way,
they tried to keep it ambiguous.
Yeah,
but
but
it did have those vibes.
Yeah,
which is fine. But
it was it wound up being a big part of the movie in many ways, as we find out that the closer that the I should have pulled it out first. I'm sorry, everybody, but the main ghost in the movie, I'll call him the Big G because I know it started with a G,
Yeah.
or as Bill Murray said, big, tall, and horny at 12 o'clock.
Yep.
But the more he starts, we find out that he can actually
Manipulate.
manipulate ghosts, which
Yeah.
he does with Melody because her whole family died in a fire,
That
but
she started.
yeah, she started because she still has her matches, and it's just kind of weird because she's always lighting a match and throwing it away, but then it keeps because it's a
But
ghost
she's
based.
also encased
Yeah,
in flames. Like they're just all over her body, radiating off of her because
yeah,
she died in an building fire. And that's how we find out that's how her entire family died. And she feels like she can't move on to go with them because she feels responsible for it. And
yeah,
then, so the big bad is telling her, well, if you get me Phoebe, for some reason it needs to be Phoebe, but if you get me Phoebe, then you can go, you'll be absolved and you can go and see your family.
yeah. Which and it kind of makes sense because she obviously befriended Phoebe, and he sensed that. Then
Mm-hmm.
also sensed that she can actually control and hear
Mm-hmm.
or something. So like she has the ability to get in there. So, um, but we see a couple other times too where Melody's at the containment unit, and she's haunting Melody's little diner,
Yeah.
and then of course podcast and Phoebe. Since everybody else is out busting ghosts, they take it upon themselves to run to the cafe
To the diner.
and the
And then
diner and stuff.
and she finds out it's Melody and that her friend, and she was like, I don't know if
Yeah,
I can bust my friend. She kind of she hesitates, and in hesitation, she gets her ass kicked.
yeah, pretty much. And
So
so, um, then as this is then like I said, we're as this happens, then they're trying to figure out what's going on with the orb, and then that's when uh Ray was it Ray podcast Phoebe no Ray Ray podcast and Phoebe take a little tricycle to the library, run into
oh
Patton
yeah.
Oswalt character, and he's a big weirdo. He's down in the basement, and he knows exactly what they have.
And he can
And
read the language, the dead language. That's
yeah,
older than ancient Sumerian.
yeah. And so, but at this time, the possessor is in the bag and gets loose and
Yeah.
all this stuff. But
Creates
then,
havoc.
yeah. And I'm just going to kind of fast forward here too. But then we find out that they're trying to like, where did you get that at? And then find out he get up from his grandma. Cabal, they go to his apartment and find his mom or grandma's with Lucky. Sorry, she
Yeah.
joins in on him with him.
His
Joins his
the
grandma's,
shrine all in
yeah,
bronze.
or she called it your grandma's sex dungeon, which was hilarious.
He's
And
like,
but
stop talking about my grandma's sex dungeon.
yeah, so but basically we find out about the firewalkers.
Fire. I don't know if it's fire walker. It's
Okay,
fire like start. It's not fire starter. It's
yeah, we'll just
fire.
say fire people. They're the
Fire.
ones that counteract the ice and the freeze and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
the only thing that can really the only thing that can really defeat
This bad guy.
the
Because they
big
need to
bad guy.
trap him in bronze.
Yeah, so they need him to learn how to manipulate fire.
Fire.
So, which
Because he
is
didn't
again
listen
very
to
funny
his
scenes.
grandma.
Yeah, and then so all that happens, then
But then
Phoebe,
also, Phoebe is feeling like there's nothing left for her because she can't ghost bust and her family is always leaving her behind. So she was like, what? She toys with the idea of becoming a ghost herself
yeah, because they're interdimensional, but they want to feel like they're in
on
the
the
same
same
place at the
plane.
same time. So she
Yeah.
mentions that she could do it at the new high tech ghost lab, and that's exactly what the big bad wants to happen
Yeah,
because
because apparently only a ghost can say the incantation to release him.
the human but he can't control humans. So
Oh, but so she
since
has to
she's
be a ghost
alive, yeah. So
because
he
she's
used
only
her
like a
spirit,
ghost for like 2 minutes.
yeah.
So
And so as he's possessing the
the,
spirit Phoebe,
yeah,
she's
the human is
mouthing the
telling.
words,
Yeah.
the human Phoebe, who's
Mhm.
knocked out, unconscious because her spirit's out,
Yeah.
says the words, opens the ball, New York
And he
freezes.
is there with all of his powers, all of
Yeah.
his glory.
And then right at 2 minutes, Phoebe goes back. So
Yeah.
so we
And she's like,
have
what do I do?
yeah. So we have New York freezing. We have, you know, the big bad headed to the firehouse, trying to release all the ghosts that have ever been caught in the history of
That's
the
why I thought
Ghostbusters.
Zool was going to show up.
Yeah. Well, technically, Zool's still in Oklahoma
Oh, that's right.
in
Because
that
Zool
shot.
did come back in Afterlife, didn't he?
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
Gozer.
Gozer,
Yes.
not Zool.
Zool's one of the dogs.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
I thought whatever it was going to come back.
Remember,
but it didn't.
there is no Dana, only Zool. So,
Yes.
I'm just having too much fun. So then New York's frozen. Ghostbusters come back out. Even though the mayor's against it, they say, screw you, we're going to do this. The originals come back and they got all new packs because the mayor compensated all the packs and all the equipment.
Yeah.
But Phoebe has hers under the bed. And since she's a genius, she realizes, like, oh, because Lucky told him, like, well, I shot at him and it did nothing.
Right. He actually froze the stream and it shattered.
And that looks badass. That looks so cool.
Mm-hmm.
So Phoebe's like, well, and grabbed her old pack. Is like, well, thaws off he's like, the only thing that helps too is brass. So they cut the part of the flagpole, the
fire pole.
Fire pole. Thank you. I knew it started with an F. And melted it and infused it in her proton pack.
Yeah.
And that tended to work. And by the time he got back, a little bit, it slowed him down enough to
have the fire.
The thing going down the fire pole with his armor was hilarious.
It was.
And
it was kind of like that.
Yeah. And the theater I was at, the entire theater was laughing out loud at that scene.
So was ours.
Which I love. They laughed at everybody. They laughed at the jokes. At the jump scares. I mean, everybody in my theater was really into this movie, which I thought was awesome.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So so they get that he becomes the fire master.
That's what it is, Fire Master.
Nice. After some
Keymaster.
But the cool thing is because he had the lighter because he was practicing.
Yeah.
But then the lighter ran out of fluid.
Yeah.
And like podcast is like, dude, or Trevor, and they're like, you told me to practice, so he used it all up.
He used up all the fluid.
But then this is where Fire Ghost Melody comes with her one match.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, it actually pieced well together because until the very end, I'm like, oh, she's going to help with the fire. And I really dug that. So the defeat him. Awesome. Yeah, the defeat him. The mayor, he still wants to, since the Ghostbusters are responsible for freezing New York now, wants them done and jailed. And, they're like,
yeah, but they also saved New York. So,
well, yeah. And Winston, go ahead.
Oh, I just was going to say he got tricked into saying, oh, but we love the Ghostbusters and we're going to give them all the money in the world to keep on busting.
And that was Winston, the entrepreneur who I think, I'll get to this in a second, but then it kind of, like you said, he kind of forced the mayor Peck's hand. And one of the big lines with Peck in the first movie was Bill Murray, when he called him like, we're an adults right here. He called him a dickless, and he's like, yeah, there's guys don't got no dick. There's somewhat, but then in the crowd, somebody's like, they're like, yeah, we want the Ghostbusters. Like, yeah, something Mayor Dickless or something.
Yeah, so I heard that.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And so he pretty much pardoned the Ghostbusters publicly in front
Yeah.
of everybody. And
Well, I mean, they just saved New York. You're in a
yeah,
big crowd of people who are cheering for them. Are you really gonna say we're gonna put these guys in jail now? Like, seriously?
yeah, exactly. And so, you know, they give Connie. Oh, first of all, they all kind of separate and stuff, and crowds cheering, and she calls Gary like, "Okay, Dad," or something, and he's
Yeah,
like,
and he's
"What?
like,
What?"
"She called me Dad. Did you
Yeah,
hear that?"
exactly. So they pass that test. Connie throws Trevor the keys because obviously, well, still they beat the big bad. He got locked back up in the containment unit, but now New York is still filled with a bunch of ghosts now.
Yeah, because they let them all out.
Yes, and so the dragon ghost that comes up at the beginning, and Slimer,
Yeah, they're all out again, so we have to
I'll
go
take
catch
off.
them.
And so Mom throws Trevor the keys and be careful on the turns, and they get all going. But
She's like, "Be careful. There's a lot of people right here."
yeah, so cheesy, yes, but I enjoyed the hell out of this movie, and
Mhm.
I was in from the beginning. Like I said, my theater was too, and so it ends like it normally, like you could tell there's going to be hopefully, I say hopefully a third one.
Yeah, but
Definitely more
also we get a
Ghostbusters.
mid-credit scene.
Yeah. So do you want to say what?
So definitely stay for the mid-credit scene. It's not like too far into it, but it opens up on a truck stop, and this guy gets out to basically pay for the gas, I think, right?
Yeah, he fuels
And
up and goes to the vending machine, I think.
okay, yeah, that's what it is. He goes to the vending machine, and then the truck turns on. And I think I was gonna think that maybe like one of the ghosts possessed the truck. The
I thought it
truck.
was a possessor truck.
Yeah. But also then it pans into it, and it's the little Stay Puffed Marshmallow Men doing their kamikaze crap,
Yeah.
and they literally drive off with the truck, and he's like, "Hey, come back here!" So
And the truck is a Stay Puft Marshmallow truck.
yeah, it is. It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow truck. So
But
it all comes full circle.
yeah. And the reason why I thought it was the possessor, because we see him possess Ecto 1.
Right. He possessed
So
Extra One, and he did the vacuum cleaner, and like it possesses anything. It doesn't
yeah,
just
a
possess
proton pack.
people.
A
Yeah,
proton
it
pack.
did do a proton pack.
So I thought that was a really cool, like they like, and so all these different ghosts, they're just weird and funny, and this is what gave me the cartoon vibe.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it was kind of like the cartoon was kind of like Monster of the Week kind of thing, right?
Yeah, in a way. So
Yeah.
um
But also the cool thing is
yeah.
a lot of the theaters are doing special popcorn buckets, and the one that was specifically for AMC theaters was a ghost trap.
It's a trap.
I just happen to have one here. Now it
Yeah.
is huge. It holds like 130 ounces of popcorn.
I can eat it.
Now I think this comes undone, and then you can close the trap.
Cool.
But also, let's just say this was yours, and I'm gonna open it.
Right on.
So it glows.
Very cool. I love it. And that thing is going like hotcakes, I think by now.
Yeah.
And my theater, which is Cinemark, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. My theater, which is Cinemark, it had the Slimer holding a Cinemark popcorn bucket, which is a lot smaller than that. So but I've seen people that have them both.
Yeah,
And they put it in there, then they light it up so Slimer glows. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Shout out to my buddy Jacob, who's a big Ghostbusters fan, who got me Slimer. I got him the trap, so it's a good trade. So
yeah.
thanks.
Although
babe.
I saw, you're welcome. But I saw another one where it was like a popcorn bucket, but you were actually eating the popcorn out of Slimer's butt.
Yeah, I don't know if that was real or not.
I don't know.
But I was like, put that together with a Dune popcorn bucket. You got a slimy. Never mind.
Yeah, let's not go there.
So I don't know. We don't even have a rating system really. So what would you do? Would you do out of 5 or 10? What would you think?
Let's go out of 10.
Okay.
Like a 10 would be a good movie. I would give it a solid 8.
Okay.
I like
All right.
Ghostbusters movies. I think this was a very good sequel to a sequel. It
Yeah.
left it open for another one, and I found it funny, and it was really well written.
Yeah. I would. I always say if I give it a half a point, if I'm looking at a half, I'm going to round up to the next top.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say 7.5, which will automatically give it a 8.
8.
Same thing. I mean, movie's cheesy. It's a Ghostbuster movie, but it was just so fun. The new cast I love, and
Yeah,
of course the original cast is iconic. So,
yeah.
and
I
I
mean, how
think
can you go wrong with Paul Rudd? You can't. So
yeah, and the kids are great, and I like you know my feeling on this that kid actors, even though um, the one from Stranger Things, I keep calling him Mike, but
oh,
Trevor,
Finn, yeah.
he's pretty much an adult now, but I still call him a kid actor right now. But
Well, I
they
mean,
can,
he's mostly playing kids still, so it's
yeah, but
okay.
they can make or break a movie for me, and I think he's great. I think
McKenna Grace is
McKenna
awesome.
Grace is. I'm putting her in that same class of young actresses as um, Imani, Miss Marvel,
Oh, okay.
where
Hmm.
I just see them their future so bright. And
Yeah.
I have this video that I found of her, and
Yes,
I'm like,
please.
man, this young lady is so bright and everything. But before I get to it, I just want to say, uh, I see this movie as being the true passing of the torch of the original Ghostbusters to this new group,
Hmm.
including Lars that we were introduced to. He's going to be I won't say the Egon because Phoebe's the Egon,
Yeah.
but Lucky, and we're still going to see Janine around. But I think, especially in that last scene with Mayor Peck and Winston, I see Winston. That was a very political move he did,
Yes.
so I could see him kind of
Moving into
moving
mayor
into politics in a way. I don't think it's going to be like we won't see Ray or Peter anymore. But I think they'll be on a smaller. You know,
roles. Yeah.
we need to find out something. We're going to raise a cult.
Yeah.
Store. So, um, but so far, this movie's been out for a week as of this recording, and again, what Rotten Tomatoes does, and they crap on it. I believe it's at a 27%. But the
That's
audience
horrible.
score, yeah, is at an 85.
So go with the
So
audience score.
exactly. And you know what? If you want to see a movie, see it. And there are people that are crapping on it, like, oh, we're done with reboots and stuff, and hate. There's haters are going to hate.
But there's a good
We
way
know
to
that.
do a reboot, and then there's a bad way to do a reboot. And Ghostbusters
Yes.
has done both. So
Yeah. So
pick
and like I said,
pick your battles.
Mackenzie Grace was doing this
McKenna.
interview, and McKenna, sorry. And she did this interview. I got this from ghostbusters.net on X.
Mm,
Check out their website. This is basically the ultimate Ghostbusters website for fan site. But she's such a bright young woman, and she talks about uh, haters basically. So this is like a 4 or 5 minute video. I'm only gonna play 2 minutes, and but this goes for so many other fandoms other than Ghostbusters as well.
hmm
So let me get this. So
Okay. So, I mean, all in all, like I said, I think this is a very good installment of the franchise. Ghostbusters has done good ones and they've done, not so good ones. So, you pick your battles on that. But, this one is definitely picks up right where the afterlife drops off. And, I believe it gives it a complete storyline. So,
yeah,
and I think it also leads into something greater with the kids and the family and continuing to Ghostbust.
yeah, and like I said, I love Ghostbusters, and in my opinion, even and I hate to say a bad Ghostbusters, but even a less popular Ghostbusters is still a fun movie, and I'd rather have that than not at all. So let's see if this video plays.
And it can be kind of like an intense reaction to a film like this because fans can get so like wrapped up in like, but I wanted it to do this or I wanted to do this.
Yeah.
Is that something you let affect you, or for you, is it more like not about the reviews, it's about getting people to cinema and getting the fan reaction online?
Yeah, everybody can say whatever they want about a film. Everybody's going to watch a film and have a different takeaway. I think that whenever I read a review, I love Letterboxd, and so I'm always reading Letterboxd reviews. But I think whenever there's a review and it's like, stop making Ghostbusters movies, or stop, just let the franchise die, because I mean, that's such people say that. I'm not just I'm gonna be honest, people say that, but I think that if you're going into the movie with that attitude, then you were never gonna give it a chance in the first place. If you want to go to the theater and have a fun time and enjoy a fun action Ghostbusters movie, then go to the theaters and watch Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. If you think that you don't like the franchise and you don't want to watch the movie, then don't watch the movie. It's not for you. This movie really is for the fans, and even if you're not a fan, you can still enjoy it. It's such a fun, exciting film. I think that it's just, don't take it too seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously. It's Ghostbusters. I mean, it's the most crazy concept in the world. It's exterminators for ghosts. It's so outlandish. It's so fun. So it's not like any of us are taking ourselves that seriously. I think that it's and I think that it's fantastic, by the way. I think it's a great movie. I'm really proud of it. And not being a part of it, if I wasn't, I really enjoy the film just for what it is. It's really fun. Anybody can say what they want about a film. Everybody has a different takeaway. And if it's not for you, then it's not for you, but it's definitely for me. And I think that the fans will really enjoy it. I think that it definitely pays to the fans, and it also makes sense for a larger audience as well.
Yeah. And there are many things.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Like I said, I saw that. I'm like, dude, she is smart. Why is wiser beyond her
above
age.
her ear, beyond her years. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. So once again, I loved it. I do want to see it again. My buddy Jacob, who, as I mentioned, who got me the Cinemark bucket, he saw it earlier the day. I saw it in the evening, and he was like, "Where are you going? What time are you going?" And I told him, he's like, "Okay, I might meet you there." Then he found out I was at a theater further than him. He's like, "Nah." So he was going to watch this 2 days.
Oh, he was going to go again.
Yeah, he saw it at 2 in the afternoon. Then I saw it at 7. So
got it.
but like I said, he's got like the Ghostbuster emblem on his car.
So he's a really big Ghostbusters fan.
Yeah, he goes in. He's shown up in the jumpsuit at the last movie. And,
big cosplayer of the Ghostbusters. Cool.
Yeah, and we've talked about getting me into it. So there is a Sacramento Ghostbusters group that I've thought about getting into a couple times. So. You know why?
Why?
Bustin' makes me feel good. So.
And with that,
thank you guys for watching. Hope you liked the show. Let us know what you thought. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to be notified. We got a lot of stuff planned coming up really soon. So looking forward to so many content, especially like Courtney said earlier. We got our tickets for D23. We're going to be at all the showcase panels, plus every other thing we could get into. So this is our Super Bowl and right. Kelly's. So we're ready.
Exactly. And go watch our Disney Channel night video. Me and my sister Kelly, we had a great time, and we dressed up as the Descendants. We were Mal and Evie, and that video is up on the channel right now. So go watch.
As long as many others are Sweethearts Night, or Stranger Things, and Percy Jackson. Get into that show. Get into if you haven't seen the actual show yet, go check it out on Disney Plus. It's awesome. And then we have 2 reviews, part 1 and 2, chapters 1 through 4, then 5 through 8. So, but thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.